The tramway is currently taking a sabbatical, but it's business as usual as we continue our look at the small world of die-cast Land Rovers. In support of the videos, we also have a website which is packed with useful information, and also why not join our brand new Facebook group where we discuss all things to do with the small world of die-cast Land Rovers. Welcome to our continuing look at the Cararama 1/72nd scale products, and in particular all things Land Rover. Now, in the last video we took a look at the Land Rover Freelanders, and in this new batch of videos we're going to be looking at the Range Rover models. And so we're going to start by visiting the website and going into the Cararama section. Right, as you can see here, there are two different styles of Range Rover models that Cararama have produced. The first one is the Range Rover 4.6 HSE, and also there is the Range Rover 2003 model. Now we're going to start with the 4.6 HSE, and we'll click to enter that database. And as you can see, they've produced quite a few different models in this range. And initially we're going to just be concerned with the standard road going versions, and then in later videos we're going to move on to the more deckled versions that they've produced. Some of these are quite difficult to get our hands on, especially in the UK, because they've produced them for different markets throughout the world, as you can see. In the plain road going versions, by far the most common is the green, and then I would say the silver, the gold, the red, and then the more difficult ones are the white, and the very, very difficult one to obtain, and as you can see, because it's greyed out, or pinked out in this case, metallic light blue one, which is so hard to get our hands on, been after one of these for quite some time. But we're going to kick off and we're going to have a look at the green versions. There are two versions of the green Range Rover 4.2s, and as you can see here, there's metallic dark green, but there's also just a dark green version. Now we're going to kick off first with the metallic dark green, and as you can see here, there are three that we know of. All these Range Rovers have Type L wheels. There's only seems to have been one type of wheel fitted to these, and having examined dozens of them, I'm pretty sure that there isn't an alternative wheel, so that makes things a little bit simpler. Although we've listed it, we just listed it on them all as L. Body colour metallic dark green. Number plates throughout seem to be LF460H. Now the first one is beige interior, beige dashboard, painted rear lights. It's got Hongwell on the base, and the base fixed type is the cam lock. Now, first we saw of this was in the Freelanders, and it's like a T section that goes in that way, then you turn it so it locks. None of the other ones seem to have it fitted. You know, the previous models, the Series 3s, etc., or the pickups, it just seems to have been the Freelanders and the Range Rovers. Now, if we go back, right, it's quite a pleasing model, is this. The lights are nicely picked out, Range Rover. The 4.6 wording at the bottom, that's all quite neatly done. on these little models. Wipers to the headlamps, Range Rover picked out across the grille, etc. These make for quite a tidy little model, and they do seem to have been quite popular with collectors. Now, just coming back to the base, hung well with the Range Rover and the correct 4.6 HSE wording to the bottom there. Nothing else to particularly pick out. There's attempt at the exhaust there, but it doesn't appear to go right through to the rear, unless, yes, that could be it there actually. But pretty standard models, riveted at the front. There doesn't appear to be any rivets to the rear, which suggests it just clips in. The second model that we have is basically the same model with just some subtle changes. It has a satin black interior and satin black dashboard. So they've changed from beige all round in the first one we looked at to satin black. The painted rear lights remain hung well, so it's another hung well model. The base fix this type is screw. So if we were to go to the, there we are, right, a bit blurry this photograph, but you can see the base fix, just a screw and then a locating peg stops the model twisting around once it's on the plinth. As we've said before, we only ever saw this arrangement in the Series 3s, and the Series 3s were the first models that Cararama seemed to bring out in the Land Rovers. So this would suggest this is the early version, and the cam peg fixing came at a later date. So the early ones had the Range Rover wording and the hung well badging, etc. Rivets stayed the same. It appears just to clip in at the rear, possibly with this tab here. So the bases seem to have remained fairly static through the production run, with just this change to the mounting, which I presume was in response to the fact that often screws were difficult to get out if you didn't have the correct size crosshead screw, which was a rather tiny affair, and I should imagine feedback from customers was that they were difficult to get off the plinth, so they went to the cam peg arrangement. Right, let's return to the listings. So first one followed by the revised one later. We do know of a third version, metallic dark green again. This one has the beige interior, beige dashboard, painted rear lights, but shoe coat on the base. Now we've seen in the past that how the change between the shoe coat base and the hung well is just the fact that they overstamp it with shoe coat, so there's no 4.6 HSE, etc. So I'm assuming this would be the case with this one. The base fix type, if I had to come off the fence and say, I would put it as a cam peg, the later one. Going by the fact that the dashboard is just moulded in one colour as opposed to the earlier one, which you had a contrast between the dashboard and the interior, etc. But it is possible that it is the other version, but we've just got to find one. Now we move on to the solid colour, the dark green. There are two versions of the dark green vehicle that we know of. Pretty easy to distinguish. The paint is a solid dark green as opposed to the metallic one. occasionally, if your photographs, if you're buying off the internet, is of poor quality, it can take a bit of judging whether it's the dark green model or the metallic model. But obviously, if you got it in your hand, there's no mistake in it. Right, the first one up is a beige interior with a satin black dashboard. It's got Hongwell on the base. It's a screw fix type. Now, that would put it at an early model, and everything we've seen in the previous ones. Rivets don't appear to change right across the range on these, and this one comes in one of the earlier Cararama boxes, although we don't particularly look at packaging in these series of videos because that's a whole different world. Quite often these appear on the internet without the boxes, but in the clear plastic cases. So personally, from my point of view, I collect the body types and the casting types as opposed to the commercial products that they came packaged in. Right, the second one is beige interior, a beige dashboard. So the dashboard's changed between the two, and it has now become a base fix type of the camlock variety. So this would appear to be a later model. There we have it, and everything else pretty standard. And that is the camlock arrangement. Right, again, nice looking vehicle. The green allows the such as the lights to stand out, and the wording on the front and rear, etc., to stand out nicely also. So all in all, this colour scheme crops up far more common than all the others. So I would hazard a guess that they sold far more of these, and really nice, pleasant looking model. Not seen a Schuko version of this one. We've scoured all over the place, and even in the Schuko listings on the likes of eBay, if you put in your search Schuko Range Rover 4 etc., there's just no sign of one. And for the length of time I've been looking for them, if there was some out there, I would hazard a guess they would have turned up by now. So these being made for Schuko, this arrangement didn't come along until they'd moved from, say, the solid green to the metallic green version. As to whether these ran side by side when initially issued, possibly yes, but with the screw fix type bases. We shall look at the metallic silver grey next. The metallic silver grey version, there are two that we know of, and here's where things get a little bit more interesting, because it's metallic silver grey, as we've said, number plate LF460H, beige interior, beige dashboard, painted rear lights, which we've seen pretty standard on the previous ones we've looked at. Right, this version has the Range Rover legend at the rear, and it's in blue. It's also written across the front lip of the bonnet, just above the radiator grill, also in blue. The lights on the silver version don't stand out quite as well, it has to be said, but everything on the bottoms, as we would expect. It is a camlock version, this one. And if we go to the other version of it, which is also a camlock, So these two seem to have been out about the same time. The metallic silver grey is a ever so slightly darker shade of grey. There's not a lot in it. It's only when you stand the two next to each other that you can discern there is a difference. But the main feature about this one, Range Rover, is actually picked out in white, but it's very difficult to spot. Range Rover at the rear, also in white. So there's two versions of this running side by side. There's the blue Range Rover Legends and the white. Both feature beige dashboards and hung well on the base in both cases, and both are cam locks fixings. Of the two, the blue one is slightly rarer than the white Legend versions. So there's two to look out for there. Not come across any other versions of this. There doesn't appear to be any with dark dashboard or dark interior or even Schuko versions. Next up we have the metallic gold versions, and if we scroll down to the metallic gold, there we have three to choose from. The first one has a beige interior and a beige dashboard, hung well on the base, and it is a cam lock or cam peg fix type. So we'll have a look around it. Nice looking vehicle. The metallic paint on this one looks quite smart. Range Rover across the bonnet leading edge, and headlamp wipers, which we've seen on all the previous ones. As we come round to the back, Range Rover again in white, etc. Lights picked out. So pretty standard fare. See if we can get a side view. Now we'll go to the base. We don't seem to have had any with painted exhausts in this version of the Range Rover. It would have been nice, but I should imagine because of the way it's cast, it would have been quite difficult, or moulded, should I say. Right, so that's the first one. We'll jump to the third one at the bottom. Same model, but we've got a black interior and a black dashboard this time. Hung well on the base, and it's the screw fix type of fixing arrangement to the base. So this is probably the first one. This is the second. So for some reason they changed from a totally black interior to a totally beige interior on that one. There's one out there, a third version, which has a beige interior and a satin black dashboard. We're assuming it's hung well on the base. We do not know of the fixed type of this one. This one, of all of them, is the scarcest to find. I would like to get my hands on one, because it's anybody's guess what the base is. I would hazard it could well be a cam lock, but until we get one, that's an unknown issue. Right, I think that'll do it for this episode. In the next one, we shall take a look at the more scarce ones. So we're going to be doing the red and the dark red versions, the white, and as far as we know, there's only one in the metallic light blue, and that is really scarce. So hope to see you in that one. If you have any comments, just stick them in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to respond to what you have to say. Right, so as usual, stay safe and happy collecting.